PYX 106, Capital Land's Classic Rock with Quinn and Cantera.
1-800-LAW-1010, 1-800-LAW-1010.com. Our friend Chas Farcher on the phone this morning. Good morning, Chas.
Good morning, gentlemen.
So we watched this come down yesterday, I don't know, early afternoon or late morning.
Yep.
The Safyre Terry's mom, Jennica Duell, gets 11 years for perjury. Is that a legitimate, lengthy sentence for perjury?
Yeah, it is. She was facing 3 charges. She pled guilty to 3 charges. She faced a maximum of 5 years on each count, so the range was essentially, up to 15. So she got, a pretty good chunk of that. And she did plead guilty, so that, a court will take that into consideration. And I think her defense attorney, Cheryl Coleman, made a pretty good argument for her, that law enforcement, to some degree coerced those false statements because of her state of mind at the time. She had, supposedly just found out that her... Yeah. Well, anyway, go ahead.
So her lies, she was led down a path to lie? Is that what you're saying?
Well, her state of mind was easily manipulated, I think.
I think that's what it is. So remember, we were talking about the fire that happened in Schenectady. David Terry dead, plus 3 of her 4 kids, and her 4th one, Safyre, burned 75% of her body. So, the defense's argument essentially is she had just found out 3 of her children were dead, and law enforcement told her, if you ever want to see your 4th kid, you'll tell us what you want to know. So in her mind, so the argument goes, she told them whatever they wanted to hear. It just happened to not be true.
What goes through the mind of federal judge Gary Sharp when he says something like this? Because it says here in the story up at our page, even after sending Jennica Duell away for 135 months of perjury, federal judge Gary Sharp looked directly at her and said, quote, "I know what I'm looking at. I'm looking at sadness," unquote. Is that for him or is that for her? Is that to make him feel... I know I'm sending you away, but I still see the sadness. What is that?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of those things. I think, you got to look at a defendant in those shoes and see that person, as probably having played a role in the death of 3 young children. So you got to take that into account. But at the same time, it's also the mother who's now lost 3 children. So I think you got somebody wearing a bunch of hats at one time. But
you'd think he would have been more lenient then. I'm only speculating based on what he said there in the courtroom.
Well, I think she plays a key or a pivotal role in finding the person or, bringing charges against the actual person who did it. And there's I think they have a pretty good idea as to who it is, but obviously there's not enough evidence to file those charges because no one's ever been arrested for the murder of these 3 kids and Mr. Terry, so all you have are 2 perjury charges in this horrific case, and she may very well be the key that unlocks the rest of it, but she's not willing to cooperate. So, should there be some sympathy there for a mother who lost 2 kids? Certainly, but, she also, has a responsibility to come forward and help catch the person who did this.
Agreed. I totally agree with that. But why is the judge, inserting his personal opinion into that when he should just be a judge?
She's got 3 dead kids.
I know, and I get it. But okay,
I don't have a ton of sympathy for her though.
Yeah,
if you can lead to the person who had done this, and you don't do it.
Okay, understood. So then why is the judge being sympathetic? It's really not what our question is or what our. But I just thought it was an interesting point that you got a federal judge saying something like that. Where does he really lie?
Usually there's some discussion during sentencing. The judge kind of is the mouthpiece for the victims or the victim's family. So I think there's a part of that. There's usually something that goes along with any of that. But I think the sentence probably says more than anything. 11 years for perjury is a good chunk of time. I think what's really interesting to me, too, is that this case was moved from state prosecution to federal prosecution, and that's likely because they're looking for the guilty party because there is still a death penalty available under federal law, which there wouldn't be under state law. So it tells me the case is very much still open and alive, and maybe the play was with the federal prosecutors charge her with perjury and see if she'll roll over and actually give them the information they needed, but that never happened.
So is that the only thing that's gonna convict someone in this arson? Is if she points a finger at someone? Is that the only way to do this? Or is there another way to find out?
Well, they've got video, that has one of the defendants, Mr. Leon, who's also in jail now for perjury. They have his van in the area at the time. They have threatening text messages from him to Mr. Terry, who died in the fire that night of. But they don't have anyone actually lighting the match, And so, her original statement was that she was at the scene, and then she retracted that and said it was a lie and that she wasn't at the scene. So, obviously with the information they haven't brought formal arson or murder charges, so they must feel they don't have enough at this point. So unless something else changes or comes to light, my guess is that, her testimony or her eyewitness account may be the only thing that brings those charges about down the road.
This is an awful story from the very beginning. The only silver lining here is how awesome that little girl is when she goes out in the community and how much people love her around here. I mean, she's the one silver lining to this whole thing.
Yeah, it's amazing how much of a cluster bomb that a case can get itself into, though, isn't it? It's nuts.
Yeah, it's incredible, and you don't see a ton of these perjury cases either. So it's interesting when they actually move all the way forward. Normally, witnesses are granted immunity. You come testify at the grand jury. The understanding is you won't be prosecuted for anything you testify about. The only exception to that rule is when you testify and everything you say is a complete lie. You created charges where there were none.
Yeah.
All right, Chas Farcher from Martin, Harding, and Mazzotti, 1-800-LAW-1010 and 1-800-LAW-1010.com. Good stuff this morning. Thanks, Chas.
I'm not sure if I learned exactly what to do. What do I do?
Don't lie.
That I know, right?
Don't lie.
At the very onset of any kind of issue, go ahead and tell the truth because you're screwed if you don't, potentially.
Do you want to know what to do? The easy answer whenever you have any criminal issue is you should say 3 words, I want a lawyer. That's it. You shouldn't say anything else, and then you don't have to worry about perjury or lying.
Keep forgetting that.
There you go.
I got such a big
Chas,
mouth.
Way off the topic and certainly more lighthearted, but did you watch The Night Of on HBO?
I have not seen that yet. I just finished Stranger Things, which was strange, but good.
Awesome, huh?
Yeah, we're all watching that one.
Yeah. But check out, it must be still on demand, Night Of. The court cases are a little simple, but you might get a kick out of Totoro playing the lawyer there with his bad feet.
Yeah, it's a good one for a lawyer to watch. Yeah.
Thanks, Chas.
Thanks, buddy. 1-800-LAW-1010, 1-800-LAW-1010.com. Chas Farcher from Martin, Harding, Mazzotti. It's PYX 106.
Quinn and Cantera. Mornings on PYX 106. PYX 106.